Hi, Kirsten. Long time. And for those of you who are listening in, I'm Mahalakshmi Srinivasan. And if that's a mouthful, then ML. I'll just go by ML. I'm the CEO for Indicia Worldwide Asia Pacific. And I'm extremely delighted to be talking today to Kirsten, the Regional Procurement Manager, AOA, Print and POSM at Nestrade, on the occasion of International Women's Day. Uh, Between Nestrade and Indicia, we work very closely across various markets in AOA and in delivering Nestle's strategic kind of marketing priorities. So, Kirsten, thank you so much for taking the time to join us and speaking to us on this very important occasion.
Thank you very much, ML, and also for the invite. It is a special occasion, and it's great to be part of that. And it's also nice to connect as women on this for the specific day. So thank you.
Well said, Kirsten. So let's start with why do you think it's important to you to mark International Women's Day?
In my opinion, every celebration that is specific is worth a celebration, but I think the International Women's Day is very unique because it gives us as women, and of course everyone else on earth, the chance to recognize what has been achieved, and most important, what we can do in the future, and how we can, what we've learned over all these years, and the rights that we have achieved to bring this forward, not only to the next year, but step by step. And I think the more this day is recognized, the better it is, and the more inclusive it becomes.
Absolutely. And to think this started a century ago in 1911, I think that was the first time we celebrated International Women's Day. And it's amazing what you said, because as women leaders, it is due to this kind of platform that actually brings together our thought and our action that ultimately drives, as you said, diversity, celebrates inclusivity and parity for future generations as well, and for everyone to kind of build on what has been achieved so far. So really great. If we think a little bit about in our roles as a business leader, Kirsten, how do you think you champion equality or encourage or support women in the workplace?
I think it's that's a very good question. I like this specific because it is actual and it's factual, and it's something that happens every day. And I think it's important that we, when I say support each other, it's to listen and to hear what other women have to say and how they think, and also to reinforce and to reiterate what they believe in. I think it's very important to believe that you can do anything and that there's nothing that's not impossible. That's important to understand too. I think we all have our ups and downs, but in those cases when there is a down, then it's very important to encourage, to motivate, and to bring the spirits back up. And I think that's a responsibility maybe of everyone, but if you're in a leading role, then it becomes even more prominent. And so I think we've all have probably some good experiences in that, and we know how it brings solidarity when you encourage someone else to do something that they may be fearful of or think that's out of their reach. But I think it's important to listen, to hear other thoughts, and to also understand different perspectives. And again, it comes back to inclusivity, to say, is it something that I may not have thought about, but could be considered? So I think there are lots of opportunities to encourage, motivate, and support each other.
Absolutely. And I think I really love what you said there. It's about active listening and then learning and building on it. And do you think having role models in the form of female leadership? I know, two of the leaders across Nestrade, and a number of them, if I think about you, Branka, Noor, Andrea, it is a lot of female leadership, and certainly having role models, do you think helps with that active listening and demonstrating, you know, examples of what you can do and how people have succeeded? The more we share, the more people listen. I think it encourages other women to do something similar.
Yes, I fully agree. And I think you raised a very good point. Yes, we do have a lot of, fortunately, we see a lot of women around, even this call now. We are
Yeah,
women. And
yeah,
if we get together in our more difficult conversations, it's very female driven. And that's really good to see. So, yes, I do agree. I think a role model is very important to have. And it can be different role models. It can be a little bit of everyone, because not everyone fits one perfect profile, really. So
exactly.
it's they have different cultures, I think different generations. It's very important too to consider, because sometimes what I've learned personally, I learn a lot from the young ones now these days. And by
Mm,
that, I mean a completely, maybe even 2 decades or differences in generation, where you can really pick something up. I mean, maybe they
mm,
are more speedy and more erratic in decisions, but sometimes that's a good thing as well. Whereas a different generation may pick up things or think it more through, but has a different outcome, or maybe they have the same outcome. Who knows? But yes, I think role models are very important, and I would always try to find myself a role model.
awesome. And I'm sure you are a role model, Kirsten, to a number of people within the organization and, you know, in your lives in general. If you
Thank
think
you.
a little bit about the theme for this year's International Women's Day, it is breaking the bias. And I really like the visual of the theme, crossing of the arms to show solidarity. What does that mean to you?
Mhm. To me, it means everything needs to be inclusive. By everything, I mean despite gender, race,
Mm,
age, anyone needs to be included in this day, even if it's a day for women to celebrate. And that's the main agenda, and was the celebration. But I think it means to me to include everyone into this, and to be free of judgments, of assumptions,
stereotypes.
stereotypes, exactly. And just
Yeah.
be reminded that open-minded people, open-minded
Mm.
minds can achieve more, and that it's something that brings us forward. I think
Yeah,
that's what I would say.
definitely. And I think you were talking earlier about how maybe 20 years ago, you would live with a certain type of bias, or you wouldn't call it out necessarily. But I think because of the focus and the powerful platform like we have on through International Women's Day, it is allowing us to call out any bias, whether it is deliberate or unconscious. Sometimes
Yes.
it's just awareness, and now you're able to have this platform where you can see it, and then you can call out for change and encourage inclusive behavior,
Yes.
right?
Yeah, very true. And I think it's good to be also to be curious about it, and to question it. What does it mean, like you just did? What does it mean to me? What does it mean
Yeah.
to everyone else? Is it do we all think alike in that? Do we all consider that
Mm.
gender and race and all everything else has to be inclusive, or are there any different opinions? So I think it's just like you've mentioned, to challenge the
Yeah.
status quo. That's it. Yes, and also I think it's a good. It also means to be responsible for your actions. So just take
Mhm.
responsibility, be inclusive, but also take responsibility, to be reminded in that as well, that we not always can put it on the other, but also that we need to be
Yeah.
responsible for our actions.
Yeah, absolutely. And on that, I think nicely segueing into our allies on the, from the other gender, how important do you think is to have male allies championing this diversity and parity? Because it's a marathon. I mean, a relay even, right? So we definitely need, as we run the relay, we need to be able to hand the baton, and we need allies along the way. What's your view on the importance of having male allies as championing this quality?
This is always one of my favorite topics because I think no one can do anything without the other. So in my opinion, it's absolutely essential. Men are part of the I want to say the whole the whole pot. And the more we hear, the more the stronger we grow by numbers, the more we can raise our points of view, and the more we can be heard in what we wanted to bring across. So I think, to me, it is absolutely fundamental, and to bring from an economical side, social side, and to bring men into the agenda of the Women's
Yeah.
Day.
Absolutely. And a lot of them do champion it as people are becoming more and more aware. And they're self-correcting unconscious biased behavior at times. And I don't know, I'd like to hear from you, but I certainly have seen a shift over the years where awareness is key to kind of building that understanding and partnership, whether it is at workplace or in a social setting. What's your kind of view on that?
I think that's also a good question, and I would agree. I also see a shift, and sometimes I see a shift that I feel they're getting, at least my environment, or when I observe, sometimes I feel they're getting more concerned about saying the right thing or saying the politically correct thing, and
Correct.
sometimes I wonder if it can be overrated, and that it takes away from an organic conversation, maybe, because everyone could be, there are times when it's too much political correctness. But I would definitely agree there is a shift, and I think it's also, even in across cultures, I would say that I compared to a couple of cultures I've recently come across with, and I would say there's, like you said, more awareness, definitely a better understanding than it was if I would have talked to someone maybe 10 years ago. And there is knowledge about key topics in the world. I think it has become more open, and probably also due to social media that has played a big role, because it's accessible to everyone, and the knowledge can be extended. So the
Absolutely.
shift is there. I would say
Yeah.
that too.
So thanks, Kirsten. As a final kind of parting note, is there anything you would say to the emerging women leaders?
I would say do what you do at the moment. Never be discouraged. Follow your, I don't want to say dreams, but I think we all have dreams and hopes. And if we wouldn't have it, we wouldn't be where we are today. And I think, Mel, you're one of these leading women. So it's good to see. And I would say keep what you're doing, and do it well, and continue.
Thank you, Kirsten. That means so much hearing that from a women leader, and we do have to back each other up. Again, there is strength in numbers and solidarity, as you said. So Kirsten, thank you so much once again for taking the time to talk to me on the occasion of International Women's Day. I thoroughly enjoyed our conversation.
Likewise, thank you so much, and it's a great pleasure to be part of this important day for all of us. Thank you.
Lovely. And finally, I think before signing off, we'd love to hear your thoughts if you're listening and tuning into this podcast. So please do connect to us via LinkedIn. Thank you all. and have a good International Women's Day.